you're actually the odd duck out if you're not charging that person's credit card. In fact, a lot of people like me, I want to pay you with a credit card. When I have to pay you with a check, it's like, I'm not gonna get my 2%. I want my 2%. Get some business cards, round the corners, gloss them both sides, make it look like a little gift card for your company. You knock on the door. Hi, I'm Bob. I just want to let you know we take care of 3 properties on your street. We're working on the street today. I want to give you a gift card. If you ever need anything, you're traveling, you're too busy, you're unhappy with the company you have, this is a real $50 gift card. We'd love to help you. We all say there are no good employees. It's too hard to find them. Nobody wants these jobs anymore. But we're sort of sitting in our office or at our house, and we posted a Craigslist ad and a Facebook ad, and we asked a buddy, hey, do you know anybody who wants to mow lawns? And we say, there are no good people. This whole getting employee thing is hard, and the people you get are not awesome. They won't do what you say. They don't even always come to work. And sometimes they drink too much on Sundays.
Welcome to Louisville, Kentucky. It's been a while since Jonathan Pototschnik's been walking these hallways.
It has been a while, at least 5 years, if not 6.
Wow. Friend of the show. You guys know him, Jonathan Pototschnik, but used to be over in that Service Autopilot booth and walking around in the Lawn Care Millionaire days. What's it like to be back?
It feels pretty much like it used to feel. It's cool to be back. I know I got here 3 hours ago and I've been trying to make my way here ahead of time, and I just meet lots and see lots of people that know me. And so it's kind of like old times. However, it feels bigger, and it was massive back then. We went to grab something to eat real quick, and I can't believe how far you have to now travel in this place to find anything to eat. It's massive.
Tell me more about people coming up to you and being like, are you the Lawn Care Millionaire? Is it people what's that like? Because
I was here with a buddy of mine, Chase, and we're just walking and looking at stuff, talking, and somebody will come up and say, hey, Jonathan, and they're like, hey, I've been talking to you in the comments. Awesome. Cool. Good to see you. It's like that, but I don't know who they are. I've never seen their face, but they've seen my face. So they feel like we've been having a conversation, both in the comments and watching me on video. So there's that. That's a really weird thing, because I feel awkward as though, wait a second, did I know you from the old days and I'm just forgetting your face? And so that's interesting. But it's a lot of people come up and have been watching the content for years, maybe a few people. A lot of people don't know about the new channel. A few people have found the new channel. It's really that. It's just lots of varying stories about people that have known me over the years through the content.
The new channel is, by the way, 5 for 50. You guys can check that out on YouTube. Jonathan is sharing fire content. He's upgraded the aesthetics. We got
it's going to upgrade further. You're encouraging me to upgrade further, and I will.
And how cool is John Deere's setup here?
Fantastic. This is a great setup here.
It is.
This is cool.
World class. I was actually in Texas visiting you when we kind of set this all up. And I didn't exactly know what to expect, but this exceeded my expectations. What do you think?
I think they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, just their presentation is fantastic. Yeah, I like it a lot.
World class.
I love the lighting under the mowers.
The attention to detail. I asked them, I said, how long did it take this? You planned this, and they're like 51 weeks. As soon as Equip's over next week, they're going to start planning the next year.
And I don't know what they spent on this thing, but it was a big number, because my little booth at Service Autopilot and then bringing all the people was so much, it was a fraction of this little thing. And that was a decent sized bill. This is a big bill.
Humongous.
By the time they get everybody here and move this stuff in and out, it's crazy. But I mean, obviously, like John Deere.
I asked them about that, and they said, this is our Super Bowl. Where else are we going to interact with our customers like this?
Makes perfect sense.
Back to you walking around and people recognizing Jonathan, like, how does that make you feel? Is it more or less than 6 years ago when you were in your prime?
It's less. It's interesting being gone for 5 years. It's you got to stay in the public view if you want to keep everybody knowing you. And in that 5 years that I've essentially not been as visible, haven't been on social media, I haven't been speaking at events, all those things, I'm fading away. I mean, I'm not completely, but I can feel the difference. And then these types of events, I think they attract a ton of young people, which is awesome. So younger people come in the industry. My theory has always been because it's John Deere equipment, it's cool equipment. This is, you want to come be around this stuff and see all the tools. And so you bring in a lot of younger people. A lot of those people don't know who I am. And and so it's a new crowd coming, a new group of guys coming in to run companies in the industry. So there's a difference, and it just reminds me, you got to keep showing up every day. It's time to, as I'm doing, get back in the game.
Yeah, well, you are back in the game, and Jonathan only spoke at one event all year. He's got to go to Asia and Ireland, and he's busy, all right? But you told Naylor, what is it about Naylor? Out of all, I'm sure you get a lot of invitations, you get a lot of opportunities. Why Naylor Taliaferro? Why do you continue to support what he's doing?
So I knew Naylor going back to the service autopilot days, and I don't remember the origin story, but I'll bet he reached out to me in some way. And I like good people. It's the easiest way to describe Naylor. He's one of those good people, and he has a heart for other people. He cares about helping other people. Naylor doesn't put himself first in everything. And I feel like Naylor needs a little more love. Like the rest of us need to rally around this guy and help him build his thing. He's a good dude that's been behind so many other people helping them. He's the kind of guy you want as a friend. I just like him. I think he's a quality human being. And so I wanted to help him out. And so we had talked in years past, prior to him launching his first event, about the idea that he launches event and that he starts doing more of what I think he's gifted to do and passionate around, is around building these events and doing what he's doing versus, say, mowing lawns. Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I think much like what you've done, he needs to head this direction. This is his gift, his passion, and I want to see him get it. And so when he finally said, hey, I'm going to do an event, I'm like, yes, you got to do this. And I wanted to help.
Cool,
and so that's why.
And he's pioneered 3 events here because he's pioneered the rally. I know Service Autopilot, you guys used to come to that back in the day. I think
when I was running the business, that's when we started going there.
But when I say pioneered, there was no such thing. And he just, let's all get together. It was back at the Mega Caverns. Now we're at the KFC Yum Center where the Louisville Cardinal team plays. And then he does what you're going to be at tomorrow. There's going to be standing room only in the biggest ballroom on the main day, podcasting from the stage. He pioneered all that. And I'm excited for you to be there tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. And going back to that, back in the day, what I remember having a booth for Service Autopilot is you'd have this group of YouTubers as a little pack traveling the GIE event, and they'd come by and we talk and all that kind of thing. And then this may be giving Naylor too much credit. I don't know, but it felt like Naylor came in and did the rally and he started doing these other things. And there became this organization. There became this place they could all go. And that almost professionalized it. And that I give him a lot of that credit. I know other people were involved, but he was there in the beginning.
We're very grateful of you coming out and teaching us yesterday. I was taking notes, although it wasn't that hard to remember. Number 1, you got to get customers. And then number 2, you got to get the employees to serve those customers.
That's very nice to hear because then I'm doing my job. I am trying to nail that point into everybody's brain. Every day I want you to wake up and think about that. And if you're thinking about 10 other things, and then you're not working on the things that are most important to business. And I did add a third this time, because I've talked about that message before, and I added the point of business is to generate cash. So
tell us a little more.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if this quite resonates. It's a new thing that I'm really thinking about, but in business, we talk about profits. And I think a lot of people, and I was this way, yes, I know exactly what profit means. I know why I want to generate profit. I know it's going to lead to a better financial situation for me and my family. I get all that stuff, but there's this element where it's easy for us to postpone those future profits or not feel really bad about we don't feel terrible about not making a lot of profits. And what I was trying to do is just change that conversation and say, what profits are really about is they're really about generating cash. And you should feel absolute urgency to generate cash. In fact, if you're not generating cash, you should feel tremendous pain. Why though? Because the cash is how you get more clients. The cash is how you get more employees. And so every problem you have is solved by generating more cash. As an example, if you're not happy with your team members, they're not reliable, you can't find people that you can actually train them and then they'll follow the training. That is solved by having enough money or a pad in your bank account to give you the courage to go upgrade that individual and get a better person that will actually follow the training. And that will help you build a better company. It'll help you serve your client better. It'll also make your life better. And so I'm really trying to talk about this cash concept because profit for many of us, we all know what it is. Everybody understands it, but it's also this number on a financial statement that your accountant might give you at the end of the year. And they said, you made this amount of money. And you look at it and say, wait, they said I made $42,000 in profit. There isn't $42,000 in my bank account. Like it's this kind of disconnected number. And so I'm trying to just change the conversation a bit and say there needs to be this massive urgency to generate cash because cash will allow you to invest in your business and fix all your problems. So you don't end up getting burned out where you just sort of give up on your dream and don't end up building the business you originally wanted, that you originally said to the world you were going to build.
Yesterday, you also had a framework of the road to 1 million.
Yeah.
You had a checklist. And forgive me, Jonathan, I didn't remember each list.
Yeah.
I just remembered get customers and get employees.
Yeah, that was on there.
But you actually had a list of step by step. If you want to get to $1 million, here's what you want to do. Can you kind of walk us through that framework?
Yeah, and it was a little bit arbitrary. It'll be different for every company. And there was just 10 points on it. And those were milestones, as I called them. And they're on this document. That the broader point of that document is that it had your goal, and the goal was to generate cash. It had your daily activities. Your daily activities are find employees, find clients, and then you do have to manage all that. Mm-hmm. That is on there. Mm-hmm. And then it had these KPIs that you need to be looking at to know if you're on track. And then I had the milestones. Mm-hmm. And so some of the milestones, I only left room for 10, and some of them were purely revenue numbers. Get to that first 50,000 in revenue if you're just starting in business, or it's a big milestone to get to that first 350,000. In fact, that 350 to 500,000 range is what in this industry is the plateau that takes out most companies. Most companies never get past those numbers because up into so the numbers won't be perfectly accurate, but it's directionally accurate. Up to about 350,000, an individual can run a maintenance company and manage all the moving parts themselves. Now, they might be working 80 hours a week, they're exhausted, but they can turn out the billing, they can do the sales, they can manage operations, they can hop on the truck if they have to. They can still be the guy or the gal. $500,000's a little probably better descriptor for the design build industry because there's a material cost in there and a couple other factors. And so they tend to be able to run a little bit bigger business and still be at the center of it all. After that, it all starts to fall apart. The wheels start to come off. You start to become subpart selling, subpart estimating, subpart all these things because you're doing too much and you need people on the team. And so one of the milestones, a couple of them were just simply revenue milestones. And obviously the last was $1 million because what you were referring to was something I'm creating called a roadmap to $1 million, the step-by-step. Mm-hmm. Other milestones, I feel very strongly from the beginning, and there's so many milestones that could have been on there. So I had to think about just a few. Mm-hmm. In the very beginning, it's getting a software solution and getting paid very fast. And you and I have talked about this whole idea of how can you get paid immediately as soon as you do the work. And so from day number one, I encouraged people to find a software system because it will reduce a tremendous amount of the work they have to do and just pay the money. It's the cheapest employee you'll ever hire. And then start charging credit cards, getting paid that way and getting paid fast. So that's a milestone. Another milestone would be to learn how to train your team and actually show up and do it. The actual show up and do it, pretty big one. Most people don't do that. And then I advocate from a system standpoint to keep systems very simple and just use a series of checklists. So as an example, if you want to have a process for how do we double check the truck from a safety standpoint before it leaves the yard, simple checklist. I don't need to write a handbook about it. I don't really need to record 3 videos about it. We need to train on it, have a checklist, and then if they don't follow it, we show up with the checklist in front of the truck and we just talk about it again. We train right there and we just work from real simple. It doesn't take a lot of work from the owner.
Let's go back to getting the credit card on file. We have guys that are just in the first year, they're newer into the industry.
Yeah.
What's that process like of getting Mrs. Smith? And psychologically, some guys are just intimidated by asking Mrs. Smith that our company policy is you have to get a card on file. Walk us through how you actually do that.
I don't want to be callous about it, but I will say when I first started teaching this, probably in 2007, there was an argument that yes, this will be a little hard. And yes, this is asking the client to do something they may not be comfortable doing. But it is now 2024. And I don't feel like there's any discussion to be had. Tell me which fast food restaurant you go to that doesn't take a credit card. In 2007, there were actually a bunch that didn't take credit cards. We don't even live in the same world from back when I started talking about this. Tell me who doesn't take a credit card. I travel all over the world all the time. We've talked about this. Mm-hmm. I carry almost zero cash. I mean, I will get currency. If I spend a month in another country, I will maybe get the equivalent of $200 in their country, and I'll bet I have 50 of it in a drawer at my house right now. Tell me, when I came here to GIE, I have no cash. I never have cash. So why is this a conversation? And I'm not fully answering your question, but I do want to...
You're preaching to the choir.
I know. But I want to put that in everybody's head. You're actually the odd duck out if you're not charging that person's credit card. In fact, a lot of people like me, I want to pay you with a credit card. When I have to pay you with a check, it's I'm not going to get my 2%. I want my 2%. It's that I'm going to get on my credit card, my cash back, or I want my airline miles or whatever that thing is. I want to pay with the credit card. There was a study from Forbes, I think it was years ago, that, and I'm sure the data is wrong now, and I'm sure it's only better. And that was that people, when they can pay with a credit card, will pay 18% more. They will spend 18% more money. I'll bet it's more than that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a study from way back. And everybody, we know how our country works. We love our credit card debt. And so they want to use their credit cards.
Yeah.
And so this is a non-issue. And so what I would advise you to do is it's a very simple conversation. To start service, all you need to get is the credit card you'd like to pay with. You could probably tweak that wording. I haven't had to say that wording to an actual person in a decade, but it's that simple. And there's no explanation. There's no big conversation. It's simple. What I'd encourage you to do if you have the software that could do it is you could either do the work and then charge the credit card that day or the day after. Or if you want to simplify your internal process, you could just charge credit cards let's call it Wednesday. Okay. Let's use a mowing example. So every Wednesday you charge for all the work you did the previous week. So one idea would be you mow all the lawns, and then that next Monday, your team, hopefully in your software, it should be as easy as click a button, blast out all the emails with the invoice. And then in the email it just says your credit card will be charged on Wednesday. That gives them almost 2 days to call you if they have any concerns or frustrations. That way you're not charging a credit card and then you're aggravating the client because they were like, wait a second, you guys didn't mow behind my fence, or you guys didn't do this. It gives you a moment to correct it and maybe not charge a credit card till they're perfectly happy.
That's a really good idea, Jonathan.
Yeah. So a lot of people do the next day. I think it's great. I love that little pad purely from a customer service standpoint. So then from a operational simplicity standpoint, 2 events happen in your company. One, every Monday, we go click the button in our software that blasts all the invoices out. It should be pretty close to that simple. And then on Wednesday, we go click a few buttons and we charge all the credit cards. And then most likely receipts are automatically sent out from the system saying the card's been charged. And that's the process. And it's just operationally easy. And you will say, if you question credit cards, you will say, yes, but I've got to pay 3% to the credit card company. You do. Put that 3% on the bill. This will make your life better. You will have the money to grow the business. Back to my cash concept.
Yeah.
If you wait on checks, you get paid slow. There's a cost to do that as well. And you won't have the money to grow the business. And you'll need to use debt to do it.
Back to your 2 main points yesterday, get the customers, get the employees. Going deeper on that, what's the best way to market to get the customers? And then once you have those, Jonathan, tell us how you get the good employees. I know you told the room yesterday, but not everybody was at the LCR Summit. How do you get the good employee?
Okay, starting with the client. There's infinite ways to get clients. And I'm going to focus this on the cheapest ways to get clients. And the progression would be that you start out just doing whatever you got to do to get clients because you don't have any money. But hopefully you have enough time to do this. And then as the business progresses, you add in new ways. An example, like maybe use Google AdWords one day, or you use paid ads on Facebook. You start to spend a little more money to do different types of marketing. But in the early days, there's an unlimited number of ways. One, start by wrapping or painting your trucks. I will tell you at our business, we find painting the cab or painting the truck and then vinyling to be cheaper than wrapping, and it lasts longer. Just experiment with in the beginning, just whatever you can afford, just get that sucker wrapped because that works. Like that's step one.
Yeah.
Yard signs work. Door knocking works. Most people be like, oh, and I get it. I mean, business is built. It's hard to build a business, but if you don't have any money, door knocking works. And you can do door knocking with a different strategy. You can knock on the door and not try to sell immediately. You can knock on the door and do a give. So you could knock on the door, create a little, you can go to Got Print, print out a little postcard, pay a couple extra bucks. They'll round the corners. They'll gloss it on the front and back. Feels like a nice little brochure. It's not a brochure, but just this one-sided card. Get some business cards, round the corners, gloss them on both sides, make it look like a little gift card for your company. You knock on the door. Hi, I'm Bob. I just want to let you know we take care of 3 properties on your street. We're working on the street today. I want to give you a gift card. If you ever need anything, you're traveling, you're too busy, you're unhappy with the company you have, this is a real $50 gift card. We'd love to help you. And just do that. That's way easier than knocking on the door, sticking the foot in the door and trying to make the pest control sell like everybody else does. That's hard. But the give immediately takes the person off their toes. We're like, wait, you're bugging me. You're interrupting my life. It's a totally different experience. You try that. Mm-hmm. Door hangers still work if you're in a city where you can put out door hangers, and they don't have to be a door hanger with a hole. They can be, again, kind of like a postcard. Mm-hmm. Get busy on Facebook. Set up Google Business. Thank you. Get hardcore about getting reviews. Reviews are not going away. You got to get them, and you got to get as many as you can possibly get, and they'll pay dividends for a long time to come. It's lots and lots of that kind of stuff. Whatever it takes to just think about where your clients live and just be in their neighborhood and get communications in front of them, whether it's communications via knocking on the door and giving a gift card, whether it be yard signs, whether it be door hangers, whether it be postcards. That's usually a more advanced strategy if they're going in the mailbox. But just say, I want to own these 5 neighborhoods, and every day we're going to show up and we're going to be present in these neighborhoods in some way, or every week, whatever that cadence is. So those are some of the many ways.
I think that's a good foundation.
Good?
Yeah, 100%. So now the biggest pain point that
employees.
I think is the employees.
100% agree. Yeah, for years I've heard myself now say, the game isn't about getting clients, the game is about getting employees. And it's that way for 2 reasons, especially going through COVID. It wasn't that hard. All you had to do is have a pulse, frankly, to get work.
Yeah.
It wasn't that hard. But what was hard was getting the employees. So the bottleneck to growing the company was not finding employees. The bottleneck was finding clients.
Right.
The bottleneck was finding employees to do the work, because if you don't have and this is the other argument for why you always need to be thinking about getting employees. If you're not confident that tomorrow you could get Bob to help you to work at your company, you stop getting Miss Smith. You stop doing the activities that will get you Miss Smith. Mm-hmm. And it's a confidence game. It's a belief that if I get Bob, I will be able to get more Miss Smiths. And if I get more Miss Smiths, I'll be able to find Bobs. And when you don't have confidence that you're going to be able to do that, you don't market for clients and you don't market for employees. And that's why every day you got to be thinking about these things, because if you only think about one side of the equation, you live in fear of never finding the employees to do the work, or vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of attention here.
That's SB Moen right there. That's the biggest YouTuber at the moment.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
Yeah, he just he has over 10 million followers on Facebook, and way over a million on YouTube. But
okay.
His wife just had a baby, so I didn't think he was going to come. So that was cool to see him.
Good for him. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's good for him. Maybe he should have been back with his wife, but
wow. Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
I mean, his first baby, little daughter, is 2 years old, and he comes to the GIE Equip.
Yeah. So back to the employee thing. I wanted to make the statement of this confidence game, and that's why you're doing both things. So now, how do you find employees? A moment ago when we were talking about clients, I said, hey, what neighborhoods do you want to dominate? What neighborhoods, we're talking residential here, but what neighborhoods do you want to win? And okay, those are neighborhoods you're showing up in all the time. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing with one of the strategies with team members. It's kind of the same thing. Where do the kind of people that you're hiring for your business live, work, and transact? So we'll use a mowing example because so many people at least start out mowing lawns. Mm-hmm. So where do a lot of the guys that you would hire, or guys that work for other mowing companies, where do they live? What apartment complexes? Where do they cash their checks? If they're Spanish guys, is there a Spanish-speaking church? Mm-hmm. If there are a lot of young guys, is there a youth group at a church? Like, where are all the places where they live and transact? Mm-hmm. You go there, and you pass out business cards. You hang door hangers on apartment doors. If you see somebody and you're like, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for work and you get aggressive. And that's the thing we don't do. We all say, and I'm guilty, we're all guilty of, we all say there are no good employees. It's too hard to find them. Nobody wants these jobs anymore. But we're sort of sitting in our office or at our house, and we posted a Craigslist ad and a Facebook ad, and we asked a buddy, hey, do you know anybody who wants to mow lawns? And we say there are no good people. But then you've got the Brickmans, and you can go down the list of all the massive organizations.
For a minute.
Yeah, that's right. They're not around anymore. Brightview, that's right.
That was about 4 years ago.
I still was in. You're right.
I got you.
But I've been around long enough that name will never leave my brain.
Yeah, I got you.
You're right. Brightview.
2024.
Yes, thank you. You're very right. So just substituting whatever name you want for whatever represents a really big company, right. And those guys and gals that run those companies are finding people to do their work. And they would all say, yes, it's hard, but they're finding them. It's possible. Mm-hmm. You only need 3.
Right.
They're finding thousands. It's possible. It's that kind of a thing. And so, but you and I, and what we all do is we don't get aggressive enough and go out and just make it happen. And that's why I say focus on this thing every day. You got to go out and be aggressive. And so you've got, for certain types of employees, Indeed works well. Facebook works well. There's just lots and lots of strategies to go get them, but you have to get out from behind the computer and you got to go recruit and you got to go be active.
How did your company, City Turf in Texas, how did you guys get connected to the program where you have folks come in from Mexico?
H-2B visa.
Yeah. What was that like when you started year one? Like, how do you get set up with that?
We found a company that facilitated it. So sometimes it's done through law firms. Other times it's done through companies that are not law firms, but they kind of act in a sense like a legal outfit in that they're helping facilitate that. Back in the day, when we hired that very first company, they walked us through the entire process. And then they had a fella that would go, in this case, we were recruiting from Mexico. He would go to Mexico and he would recruit for us.
Wow.
And help us find our new team members and then bring them into, you follow the guidelines and you bring them into the United States. And so that's how we got started. And it's evolved over the years, and the way we work has evolved over the years. But the way you would get started is you literally just go find a company that does this. I would not, don't try to do it yourself. I wouldn't even recommend you could do some of the paperwork yourself. It's just not worth it. Just spend the money and go about it through an organization that knows exactly what they're doing. And the best way to find that organization is being at events like this and meeting people and asking them, who do you use? And just go find and try one of those companies.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think you answered that. Get customers, get the employees. And I want to now go in third about getting cash. We ran out of time yesterday, but Pajak was teaching and you were asking great questions. And I was like, well, I just got to stop. It was getting very impactful of like what we're really facing with the cash flow issues. And you brought up the question, how do you know if you can hire the next employee? Like, what metric do you look at? How do you know I really need the help, but can I actually afford it? So walk us through generating cash and how, I mean, everyone's growing their business, but you don't want to do it lopsided to where it affects you in a negative way. How do you generate cash and grow the business according to Jonathan Pototschnik?
Well, when you hear things like, you need to raise your prices. Are you pricing correctly? Or you hear these metrics, these numbers like COGS or per man hour rate, or these different numbers you're hearing in your business. And maybe these numbers like make your brain shut down. It's like, I kind of know what COGS is, but I don't really know what that is. And I don't really want to ask somebody. You just feel silly about it, or you heard somebody explain COGS and it was this really complicated accounting driven math based answer, and you're like, okay, I feel kind of dumb here because I didn't quite grasp that. So it makes you feel a little off, so you just kind of back off of those things. COGS is a very simple concept. I won't take up your show talking about it, but when you hear things like these basic numbers, COGS, per man hour rate, these are the numbers you look at that tell you how the health of your business is financially, and they all directly predict how much profit you're making. And back to pricing, you might hear, hey, you should raise your prices. And you might say, yeah, that's a really good idea. I probably should raise my prices, but I don't want to risk losing any clients right now. So I'll think about that for next year. And this is where I want to bring that cash thing in and say, hey, when you're hearing somebody say you should raise your prices, that's about, yes, creating more profit, but every dollar you raise your price is pure profit to the bottom line, which is pure cash to your bank account. That cash is not so you can go, buy a boat or a house or a fancy car. It's so that you can hire a better Bob that makes your life better and your client's life better and the rest of your teammates' life better because they're getting to work with a better team member. That's how you use cash. And so all these concepts you're hearing about driving non-billable rates, quit wasting windshield time, unbillable, to drive down your unbillable time, be more productive, the COGS thing, the raising prices, anything that improves profitability and drives down expenses, that generates cash, lots and lots of cash. And that's why you want to be thinking about those things. And then again, the cash is not this and there's nothing wrong with making profits. Some people just hear it as this, selfish thing of, I don't need all this stuff. I don't need a fancier life. No, that's not what this is. Cash is about creating a better company for everybody you work with and everybody you serve and making your life better. I want to say something one more time that I said yesterday that I don't think I've articulated here. I feel that the biggest challenge most of us are facing in those early years is outrunning burnout. So let me give an example. You met some friend, you were working at a company and you met somebody and they're running a $1.5 million business and they have this cool life and they get to go on some vacations. Their kids are doing great. You're like, I want that life. That's awesome. That would be great if you're married. That'd be great for my family. I want that too. And so you go and you start a business. And then it's a little more difficult than you imagine. This whole getting employee thing is hard and the people you get are not awesome. They won't do what you say. They don't even always come to work. And sometimes they drink too much on Sundays. It's like, I don't love this. And then getting the clients is tough. And then the clients you do get, they're negotiating with you and they want it's like, and you just slow it and then managing it all. And then another truck broke down. The truck got stolen. It just never ends. And you get beat up. You're just like, if every day you're getting a punch in the face, eventually you're like, what do I have to do to not get punched in the face anymore? Maybe we don't go bigger, because you equate getting bigger and bigger and bigger with getting punched in the face 2 and 3 times a day. No, does my analogy work?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so what happens is, what do? You tell yourself a story that more of this pain is not better, and you put your foot on the brake. And you say, well, how could I make this a little smaller and it be a little bit easier and get punched in the face maybe once a week instead of, once a day? It's that kind of a thing. And you slowly get beat down, you grind in the ground, you get burned out, and you don't go for that $1.5 million example I gave earlier. But the problem isn't that it's hard. The problem is you ran out of steam and you weren't doing the right things fast enough. You weren't getting the team members fast enough. You weren't getting more clients fast enough. You weren't pricing correctly. You were doing all these inefficient things. You were going to too many cities too far away, offering too many services, using too many product types of equipment, and all that complexity was driving all the profits out of your business and therefore the cash. And so things were very hard. But if you did things a different way, suddenly you'd be able, with this cash, you'd be able to fix the bad Bob of your business and get better Miss Smiths and have one kind of truck and they all actually work, and have one kind of equipment and it all actually works. And suddenly everything feels totally different. It feels totally better. And you have to get to that place as fast as you can so you don't get so burned out you give up on your dream of being $1.5 million. That's my big argument. So I argue that you need to get to $1 million as fast as you can get there, because you're trying to avoid burning out and giving up on your dream. In my opinion, getting to live this life, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think entrepreneurs have the greatest deal going in the United States, in the world. Like, we get this unbelievable opportunity and blessing to get to do this in life. And I just feel horrible that somebody doesn't go and get that same life. And whatever that life is for them, it doesn't mean you have to have a $10 million business. It's just whatever that dream was. Most people wish they could be doing this and they don't get to do it. If you're already doing it, the idea that you would step back from your dream and give up is very disheartening for me. I want you to get it and go for it. And so that's my general messaging. And I know I got us off track from what you were really asking.
This is great.
I feel very, very strongly and passionate about this.
We did a Q&A yesterday, and everyone's like, this question's for Jonathan. This question's for Jonathan and everyone else. Jonathan, we love it, JP. Now, segueing into your passion of helping entrepreneurs. So you built City Turf, you built Service Autopilot. You told me about some other businesses that you built that weren't so as successful as those. But now you're starting this 5 for 50 for 18 to 24-year-olds is kind of your
15 to 23.
15 to 23.
But also everybody. I'm really passionate about 15 to 23. I started young, and I think it's such an advantage to start young, because I think entrepreneurship turns you into a better person generally. If you're going to build a bigger company and serve people, you're going to have to develop a lot of traits inside yourself that I think makes you a better human being. And I just love the idea of, if I could help somebody really young. It's like you like investing like I like investing. If you can start investing at 15 and not 42, you're going to win. It's just a game of time. So if I can help you when you're 15, that gets me crazy excited.
We just had your friend Nick Bartolo on the program.
Yeah, he's a smart dude.
He was telling us about the 8th wonder of the world.
Compounding interest, I'll bet.
Exactly. Yeah. Compounding interest.
And that's true in business. It's whether you start at 15 or you start at 30, there's a compounding effect, and the compounding is knowledge. It's getting punched in the face and like, not going to do that again. That was another lesson, another lesson, another lesson. You stack all these learnings and lessons on top of each other. Then one day you wake up, it's like, hey, how did I get here? I'm a $3 million business now. This is a pretty dang good life. It was all that junk you had. It was the compounding of lessons, compounding of trying things, compounding of stop doing the things that don't work.
Now, can you explain a little bit more? Yesterday, you made a comment along the lines of that most mentalities is that if I have a smaller business, it's going to be less responsibility than if I have a bigger business. But you said it's actually, if you do everything with a good foundation, the bigger your business gets, the easier it gets. In a nutshell, I don't know if I'm summarizing what you said.
That's accurate.
But can you explain why you said that? Because I think most people are like, I'll just stick to the 350 or less because it's intimidating to go to the 1 million or more. Could you elaborate? Say what you said yesterday, but I want to hear why you said that, because you said it and I wanted to hear more context.
Yes, I don't remember what I said, but the gist of it would have been essentially that When we are a smaller business and we're wearing all the different hats, we're doing the accounting, we're doing the ops management, we're hiring the team, we're selling, we're estimating, we're doing all this stuff. And it's exhausting and it's hard. And there's problem after problem. And it's like every minute of the day, there's another, oh, God, my phone's ringing again kind of thing, that feeling. What we do is we imagine that if the business were double that size, I will have double the problems. It's essentially that. We say, wow, to be that big, I can't imagine managing this many people, because we equate people with problems. Whereas I, in my world, equate people with speed and better and faster.
Wow.
And like, I like working with cool people that are smart and do work really hard. It's one of the reasons I like this industry. There's a lot of people that work really hard in this industry. And so if I can work with a bunch of people that work really hard, that's fun. That's cool. What we don't like is working with a bunch of lazy people that won't follow the rules and don't care about our client, won't serve our client, and just, don't make good decisions in life. Well, back to my cash thing, when you have some money, you don't have to keep those people on the team, and you sure as heck don't have to hire them. But when you have no money and you don't know, then you never replace them. And so your business is just terrible. So back to what you're really asking is, we imagine that more of the problems I have today will just be magnified to be bigger. So let me put it this way. This is a little bit too big of an example to make a point. In your company, who do you deal with? You deal with all your team members. You deal with your office. You deal with all your clients. You deal with your accountant. I can lay another 90 people. In my world, who do I deal with? One human being. The guy that runs the company. Tell me which is easier. Nobody calls me. And that's a way to the other side example.
Yeah.
But the progression is real. Okay. So right now you're smaller. You touch every client. You touch every employee. You touch every single thing that happens in your company. And then one day, well, I used this analogy before, and this resonates, and hopefully it'll resonate with you. Imagine we meet, you run this business, you got all this pain. And I'm like, hey man, I'd love to work with you, Paul. And you're like, yeah, okay. What happens when I join your team? Tomorrow, you don't have to do half of everything you've ever done and never do, because I know exactly what to do. Like, you never have to deal, like if I came in to help you with the employees, you'll never have to deal with the employees again. I got all this. In fact, when it's time to hire an employee, I know exactly how to do it. I don't even need to talk to you about it. Does that sound easier?
Yeah.
It's easier. And that's what hiring good and more team members is. So as the business, if you have more money, more profit, you get to go hire higher and higher level guys. So one day you get to go get an operations manager who's already done it at another company, and they come in, and tomorrow you don't have to manage the guys in the field anymore. And then when you need another employee, they might come to you and say, hey, I need to spend about 50 grand. You cool with that? And you say, okay, do we have enough capacity in the schedule that we're going to be able to fully utilize this guy? They're like, yes, I've already looked at it. I can show you. We've got a backlog of 60 days right now based on how we're selling. No problem. You're like, do it. You're done. But before you had to do all that stuff, and this person just does it. Tell me how that's not easier.
That's easier, but how do you incentivize? So you have your main guy who's running City Turf.
Yeah.
That's crushing it. How do you keep him incentivized to be loyal to your company and not go start his own company or not do anything else? Like, what keeps him motivated that you're going to go to Asia and he's going to be running City Turf with excellence? Like, how do you keep him, I don't know if compensated or motivated, or like, how do you keep him at City Turf running the show?
He actually is now a partner in the company.
Okay.
And so he wasn't back in the day, but he is a partner. And the reason he's a partner is because of who he is, because of what he did. And some of his characteristics are, he's the kind of guy that shows up and legitimately at his core wants to take better care of the team and the client. He doesn't think about him and optimizing everything for himself every day and how am I going to make more money and how's everything going to be good for me. He thinks about how am I going to take really good, just like a great owner would do. He thought about how am I going to take really wonderful care of my team, care for these people, grow them, care for the dismissed, the clients, and then how do I just make this company better and better? And he never was super motivated by money. And a lot of people, frankly, are not. There are a lot that are. You tend to see it more on the sales side. But that wasn't his intrinsic focus. His focus, I always felt like, was more of a pride thing, not a bad pride thing, but pride as in, my name's on the line here. I'm going to do right by these people, and I'm going to care for them. That's who you build companies around. Those kind of guys become your partner eventually. So that he's now a partner in the company because of that. And I think that's the kind of human being you want. So there are people that will leave you, but why do a lot of people leave? I love the saying that people don't leave a company, they leave their manager. I love that. There's truth. If you come and you work in a great environment and you like all the people, like I never had problems. Nobody ever leaves our companies. They don't leave City Turf at any, like, no. The volume of people, they're still there. They just don't leave. Some people do, of course, but not many. Nobody ever left Service Autopilot. If you left Service Autopilot, we helped you leave Service Autopilot. And I don't feel like there was this magic formula where I was like, I made the list of the 10 things. All we did is we just really cared about people. We didn't cuss at them. We were nice to them. We wanted to help them have better lives. We wanted to help them grow their incomes. We wanted them to buy a house someday. We wanted them to go on a vacation. We wanted them to have families. We wanted to take care of them just like we wanted to take care of our clients. And as long as you pay them fairly and you give them the opportunity to grow and you train them and they feel like their lives are getting better and they like the person, the manager they report to, and that person, like, this is real easy. Do you really care about them? If you don't really care about your people, they know. Right. And I feel like there's supposed to be some magical formula for how you do this. I think it's just take really great care of people and actually give a flip about them and make their lives better, and they'll probably stay with you. Some people, yes, they will leave you. I've had a few people leave me and go start business, but like, you know, what's the argument? Is the argument, well, then let's not train them. Let's not grow the company. Let's not give people lots of authority because they might just leave me someday. Well, that's not a very good formula either. You know, so it's like, yes, some will eventually go start their companies, just like Jonathan left a software company when he was 23 years old and started his company. Sure, that's going to happen with a small number of people, but that's not an argument for not going all in and still building the company.
It's been impressive, Jonathan, being here in John Deere. We've interviewed a couple employees today, and the one guy, Luke, he's worked here for 8 years. Yeah. Amanda's worked here for 11 years. Chase, too, over there, he's worked here for 25 years. And it's just like Darius, I know he's been here for a long time. So, you know, John Deere is an example. Because you said something yesterday, you're like, there's other companies out there that are getting good employees. And these folks that we interviewed, they're sharp people.
Yeah. I mean, and keeping them. I truly don't live in fear of people moving on. In fact, I, to a degree, think it's good for your team, some team members to move on. I used to say this all the time at Service Autopilot. It's like, you're going to spend some amount of time with me and you're going to move on someday. And I want you 10 years from now to look back and say, that time I spent at Service Autopilot really helped me get to where I'm at in life. And those were good times. And I just have no illusion that a person's going to be with me forever. But I want them to be here as long as possible, as long as it's still serving both of us. And I truly just, I don't know. In my case, it's just, I always feel like it just sort of works itself out. Yeah, over time, I've lost a few people that they've moved on, but they've gone on to do great things that were good for them too. And I just, like, I could find another person. I think about it's the same thing with opportunities. You know, it's so easy for us. Like, there's some opportunity to get a client or make an investment or do a thing. I just always remind myself, there's always another opportunity. There legitimately is always another opportunity. There's always another great team member. There's always another one. This stuff just takes care of itself if you take care of the business and you take care of the people in the business.
Talking about opportunities, what's your pulse on, you know, specifically the lawn care and landscaping industry over the next 5-10 years beyond? Like, what's your opinion?
I don't know. I've been doing it a while, and every time I come here, it's just bigger and bigger. And I'm not really putting money on the idea that it's not going to be bigger and bigger next year. And when we see private equity and coming into the space, that means that they see opportunity as well. They're not dumb. You may not love how they run things, or you may have a negative impression of private equity, but they're not dumb. And they're not chasing industries that are dying or fading or not growing because they want to follow growth market. They want to go into growth markets. And so I continue to bet heavily.
What advice do you have to Mr. Producer, myself? I mean, this is epic that we get to podcast and serve the community, you know, at the biggest trade show from the John Deere booth, but, you know, transitioning now into serving this community, this industry full time. What's your advice to us? I know I'm not a traditional lawn care business, but as you kind of look in as an entrepreneur, what could we be doing better? Or how can we serve this industry, you know, better?
There's a guy, a friend of mine, that I've known now for a couple of years. His name's Dan Martell. And I've spoken at his events a few times, and I took this break for a number of years, and Dan was in my head. He's like, and I'm going to get to my point here because I'm going to reference Dan. Dan was in my head. He's like, you're taking too long of a break. I took a 3-year break, and you're going to lose your momentum. And Dan's a sharp guy. And the other thing that I remember that he said to me a number of times, he's like, if you've got the ability to teach and share information, and he would have set it up in a different way, you need to just go all in and as much as you can possibly do, because you're able to help so many people. You should just tell them everything, which is what I have generally believed. I've been an open book, but I don't produce content like Dan has produced content. Like in the last year or two, he is just everywhere. And when you asked me a question, I sort of heard Dan in my head with the advice, the same thing he said to me. And I think the same would be true. You have a gift. You two have an ability here to get in front of a lot of people. People listen to you. I have found you to be extremely genuine and really care about people. And when I know somebody like that, you got to go big. And I would encourage you to just keep giving like you're doing, and just do more of it, because it truly does impact people. In terms of revenue or little streams like that, I don't know. That'd be something else we have to talk about. I'm just thinking about you're going in the right direction in my mind, and I just knowing you in the last few years and actually having more intimate conversations, I suppose you'd say, and kind of knowing the behind the scenes, the path that's happening for you right now, I think it's going to continue, and you just need to keep giving. I don't know if that helps or gives you any answers, but that's how I see it for you.
Thank you. That was very timely, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Well, let everyone know what are you most passionate about? What's exciting for you? What's next with 5 for 50? Kind of let us know when you get back from this Asia trip.
Yeah.
What's on the schedule?
Yeah. So 5 for 50. I'm doing a number of things right now, but 5 for 50 is this thing that I'm pretty passionate. Not pretty is the wrong word. I am passionate about. It's not that I'm passionate about 5 for 50. I'm passionate about the messaging that comes through 5 for 50, where maybe you heard the enthusiasm in my voice when I talked about this idea that I just don't want you to hit this wall where you're burned out and then you compromise on the life that you wanted to create. I am so unbelievably thankful that my life has worked out the way it has. And I'm not just talking about money stuff. I'm talking about my kids and my family and all friends and all the relationships and people saying, hey, you've helped me. Like that stuff, all of it, the whole package creates a cool life that I'm incredibly grateful for. And I was this 14-year-old kid that had no example of how to go make money. My dad was an artist. He was a successful artist, but he's done hiring employees and building a business. And I didn't know anybody that was rich. I lived in the country. I graduated from a high school that had 90 people, 90 in the graduating class. And I had no vision for how I was going to ever create this thing that I kind of thought I wanted. And I just feel for anybody that is kind of in the situation and says, I don't know how to do this. And that's what 5 for 50 is. And that's why I can get all charged up and worked up here. It's like, I can't imagine getting to live any other life. And if a whole ton of other people get to live that life too, they will have better families. They will be better examples to their friends. They will be better examples to their team members. They will be better examples to everybody in their world. And that's how you create an awesome country and great people and great families. Like that just gets me excited. I don't need to make more money. I just really genuinely like helping people because I get a lot from it. And I'm going on a long tangent here, but to you, I would say this 5 for 50 thing is me wanting to, as best I can, start creating roadmaps for you that says, you're here. How can I help you get here? And the thing I need from you is I need you to actually, in my case, watch sometimes not the most exciting content because it's got to, I got to tell you how to do it. Watch it and then do it. And then come back and watch another one.
Don't let Stanley get in your head.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I am sensitive to this. Like, he's not wrong because, let's be honest, everybody's on Snap and TikTok. He's not wrong. The dopamine hit is real. In my videos, the dopamine hit died 22 minutes earlier in the video. but seriously, this is what I ask of you is like, hey, if you want to know how to do it, I want to give you the how-to. And I just ask that when you watch it, you don't just watch it and then go watch another YouTube. You say, okay, how can I tomorrow go do this thing and implement it? That's where you'll get the magic. And one day you'll wake up, you're like, you won't believe where you're at. It's the doing associated to the learning.
And the 5 for 50 is, because when I first heard it, I was like, 5 for 50, what's this? So it's 5 years of doing the right things, getting the customers, getting the employees, generating cash, doing all the principles that you teach. If you go hard on building the fundamentals the right way for 5 years, you're going to reap the reward of 50 years.
Yeah, the idea being it'll change the rest of your life. 50 years, exactly right. All in. And you might have multiples of these 5 years over time. Your first 5 years might be, I just need, just to kind of reiterate what you said, how do I grow my business? How do I get clients? How do I get employees? What room do I need to be sitting in to learn from Paul and other people? Like, where do I need to show up so I can get that education and know how to do it? And you are just working and you're going and you're not giving up. You're not frustrated because it's been 8 months and I'm not a millionaire yet. Like, you're just heads down going all in. And that 5-year period right there will transform you into a new person, which will give you a completely different life. And then maybe there's another, I've been on multiple 5-year journeys. Maybe someday later, there's another 5-year journey. You're a $1.5 million business. And one day you go on the journey and say, how do I create a $10 million business? Or how do I create a completely different business? Or how do I get into completely different health in my life? How do I show up different? I kind of jacked up the beginning of my family and my relationship with my wife and my kids, but I'm going to transform myself. And they don't all have to take 5 years, but it represents these transformations of all in, heads down that we go through that change the path of everything else. And that's the 50 years represents the rest of your life.
Love it, JP. Well, we got to go to a rehearsal you're going to be at the morning show tomorrow. Naylor's interviewing Jonathan, which is going to have already happened by the time you watch this. But I'm really looking forward to having you up there on stage. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, be good. Look forward to it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you to John Deere for this epic studio. I am so thankful for this time and space to be here. I'm in the John Deere booth. So thank you for your time, JP. Thank you to John Deere.
You're welcome. Good seeing you, Paul.
You too.